So hi, you guys. It's David from Valley and Beyond, and here we are, December 28th, and we just thought it would be great to get together today and talk about our year and share our some of our challenges and our growth spots of the year, and share our love with you guys.
2019 was for me really interesting. So, I mean, you know a little bit about my journey because we started at the beginning of this year that I wanted to work with people around voice. And what I started to understand was how our voice has so little to do with just technique. When somebody gets really clear and they know what's real for them and they know it's true, their voice completely changes. It becomes more impactful. It becomes more real. It becomes more clear. That was amazing. And then to watch that with different clients and help them, clients that are like, I want technique, give me techniques for my voice. And then you talk with them and you dig stuff out, starting to understand that their voice had less to do about the technique and more about how honest they were with themselves. And as soon as they were honest with themselves, then they could express themselves. If somebody's singing, one of the least things people want to sound like is like they're trying. They don't want to sound like they're trying. Like, God forbid I sound like I'm trying when I'm singing. So I'll get everyone to sing with the most ridiculous overdoing Celine Dion-ness ever. It sounds awful, but it's amazing. And then as soon as everyone just tries so hard, right after that, everyone's voices open up. And then I guess for me, the most challenging of all of this is that in working with voice and communication and expression, it's also been a lot of learning how to listen better to what's real for me. When my voice comes from an agenda or I feel like guilty and I feel like I have to fix something, or like all those little patterns that actually rest inside of our voice and our expression. And little by little, digging it out, and then even putting stuff out this year around what I was doing or where I came from, having people's responses create a feedback loop where I had to listen to them. They might not like what I was saying, and then actually decipher, instead of being like, yeah, that's just theirs, this is my story, actually listen underneath what they were saying to what they might be feeling or thinking, and actually create a framework to more honestly see myself through their eyes, and try and hear what's real what's real in the sense of what are they saying that might be my story and what isn't. That's been, I think, the most kind of trying or challenging has been that. It's just again and again every day trying to listen better.
It's so obvious to me that your commitment to helping people discover who they are through voice. I mean, I think all of us on this call are committed to helping people get free.
Well, it's really interesting is the voice, it's an access point that's so fast, because how many times people's voices aren't clear or resonant because there's all these shoulds over top. Well, I shouldn't feel like that, or I shouldn't do this. And, until you get underneath it, you don't even know that that's why your voice has been so stuck, is because of that. Or even the difference of getting people to play with, if I talk to you like this, you can tell I'm probably not in my body. But if I talk to you down here and I slow down, I now have to feel everything I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm speaking to someone, they are now possible that they can feel what I am saying, which creates the access point for vulnerability and connection. But at the same time, if that person doesn't want to feel that, can't control what their response is. All I can do is be as clear in myself as possible and try and be as wide to allow for the conversation, whether that be an actual conversation or me singing to an audience or whatever. All I can do is try and be as wide to allow that kind of reciprocity.
I think I told you this before. When I was a kid, my mom said to me, and it's one of these little weld spot moments, and she told me that I couldn't carry a tune in a bag. And it was like, what a thing to say. I love to sing. And quite a bit of that's this year with you, kirtan.
Yay!
Brings our voices out. And I love what you do, with kirtan.
In conversations, for example, with family or whatever, just really learning to listen, but also listening to myself for my own agenda and my own stories, and trying to give myself and that more space so that action and voice, etc., doesn't come from the impetus of trying to be enough, but actually comes from that place of listening. And in singing, you know, there's something, Sylvia Nakatch is a teacher I've worked with, and I love it. It's like you close your eyes, you listen to something, and you allow, it's like you follow sound out of you and you allow it to kind of come out, and you sing as it comes out of you. You don't know what it's going to be. You just, it's like you're hearing it as it's happening. And I feel that happens in singing. I feel that happens in amazing conversation. I feel that happens in teaching when it's clear. And so more and more, like just practicing, meditating, all of that to help facilitate the space so that when I'm speaking or doing whatever, you know, speaking to me is action, it's everything, that it comes from a place of listening. That would be my biggest lesson, and the one I want to bring into the next year.
Right on. What do you have some plans for 2020? Anything that you want to just tell us about that's coming up?
I have three. Well, January 3rd, so Friday, I'm going to do a kirtan at Santosha from 5 to 7. And kirtan is ish. So I'll have my keyboard and my loop pedal and my drum machine and my guitar, and we'll do like trip hoppy soundscapes, and then we'll sing really loud, and it'll be totally ridiculous and really fun. So if anyone wants to come to that, that would be amazing. And then I'll have an event on the 24th in Canmore with Sarah Harvey, and she's going to do Kundalini, and then I'll create a soundscape and we'll sing after. And then my Rise and Resonance program, which is a 15-hour program for, it's yoga kind of based on Vedic philosophy as well as voice. It's for yoga teachers or just practitioners or people who just want to come. If they want to learn how to access the dynamics of their voice, it's a 15-hour program I'm doing February 1st and 2nd. So those are kind of my big ones. And then I take off to Bali again in March. So.
Oh, too bad.
You know, you got to do what you got to do.
You know, I'm missing my Bali home. So I get it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Thank you. And thank everybody. Like, it's funny looking up here. I'm like, oh, I've learned so much from all the people in this space. This is really sweet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Who should we do next? That's awesome. I mean, thank you, Amy. That was just super. Paul, do you want to share with us how things are going?
Here, unmute myself. I don't know if I'm quite ready, but are you ever really, right? So yeah, sorry about my technical difficulties. I had a vehicle pull up and then my Bluetooth connected to it, and anyhow kicked me out of the call. And I'm like, what happened? I didn't know that somebody would be home. So anyhow,
I've had that happen too. That was great. And then you came back in sideways, and
well, the phone was turned this way. I'm like, why am I sideways? The phone's not, so anyhow. But it's pretty symbolic of 2019, and you just keep correcting it, realigning it, and here we are. So yeah, this year has been definitely a roller coaster for me, with a lot of different things and kind of throwing things out there and seeing what sticks. And we did our first big web gathering in Banff back last November, and that was exciting. And then it was kind of the challenge, I guess, for me, or my lesson. It's really been a year of keeping faith, if you will, and keeping that trust and surrender. So like you mentioned, it's been good and bad for everybody in ways, but a lot of everything except the financial side of things has been incredible. So the experience and what we're giving to people, and any of the events we've done have been so fulfilling. Like, more than, if I always say, like, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't change anything. I'd keep doing exactly what I do. So it's been a challenge with that, but it's kind of, I guess the lesson I've got was just to kind of keep going. And so from WUB, it's led to, I've been doing a lot of things that I never thought I would do. So really cool things like, doing this work with veterans and first responders, and been doing a lot of private work and retreats and just a lot of deep healing. And so at the last retreat, I kind of laughed because I never thought I'd be that guy, or, be the one putting together kind of a model of care, if you will. And just, it's been really cool just to help people. But
with the veterans, you were doing some trauma work, right? And first responders, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy work. It's a lot. It was a huge learning curve in a way because, typically we put out a public event and we sell tickets and people come, they go. And, obviously we connect with people there, but not on the same level of, if it's a group of 10 and we're tucked away on an island for a few days kind of thing, right? So it was, a lot of different things, just wording, just a lot of growth, even in terms of something as simple as like, I want to hug everybody, and I'm I always, but I double check now about consent, where for me, like, we want to hug somebody, like little tiny little details, or even the word yoga. A lot of things are, movement for trauma, just certain, kind of approaching the same thing I was doing, but at a very different angle, if you will. But also the cool part is because there's been lots of, we have to have lots of evidence-based things behind it. So, from the breath work to the drumming to all these things, now things I've been doing for, 12, 13 years. Now I'm starting to understand the science behind it. And because before I was just like, oh, it feels good, it's cool. I never really thought about it. I never really thought, well, how is this affecting my nervous system? How is this affecting my body? How can we expand this? Which has kind of expanded my vision, which has always been big. My vision is to be across Canada and help everybody and have people come from all over the world to come experience, what we do. And so, I feel like I'm rambling a little, but it's been a year, to say the least. And so but it's been a really good one. And I guess going back to the beginning of that trust, where, it might not always be there financially, but it's starting that with that trust and doing these events has led to other doors that have shown up that I could never imagine, which has been really cool. And so going into 2020, I've one of the lessons I had too was kind of finding this balance of how do I fit? And I think everybody deals with that in life. How do I fit in this world? How do I fit in this industry, if you want to call it that? And so really going back to what I always feel is just, trying to help support others. And so it's been a clear sign that people keep approaching me to help build up their programs, and I'm going, okay, I got to listen to that, so a lot of listening, kind of like Amy mentioned, but on a deeper level of really listening and really trying to cut the the difference between gut and thought and intuition and messages coming in, and really just, as crazy as I get these messages and I'm like, hey, all right, sounds nuts, but just going with it, right? And going with it and trusting that in the long run it'll all come together, and it's all for a purpose and a reason, which is so I dealt with a little bit of that this year, of kind of having the faith and then losing it, and 2020 I really feel back on track in my vision, and supporting that vision. So that's the plan. So
I think everybody here in this call recognizes that you had a big year. You did a lot of stuff, Banff and Calgary and Edmonton, and you stepped up big. And sometimes when we step up that big, like you risked seriously, and so congratulations on that. Big learning, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm happy to hear that you're still going to do it, and sometimes when we have a vision, especially around like everybody here start doing what they're doing from scratch, for their own experience and their own gifts and qualities, and you bring very well to the whole organizing of events, and so I look to be part of whatever you're doing this year.
Thank you.
I can relate to the maybe the finances not working.
Yeah.
Or maybe they did. I needed all of that to sometimes a little humbling is makes it easier for us to hear that voice you were talking about.
Yeah, it can be a challenge. That's probably been the biggest challenge of having 5 kids and bills to pay and everything. It can be a challenge, right? But it's but staying true to that vision, I guess, that's been my lesson, is distractions and staying. My biggest goal for 2020 is just staying focus on that and focused on building my vision and what supports that and supporting other people and just really aligning with the people that are sincere in that, right? And so yeah, just basically any events that feel good doing that. And with WUB too, like it's really been taking those lessons of how learning, right? Not letting it deter you, right? And that's yeah. I don't eat up too much more time, but the goal, I'll give it real quick. The plan is like from learning that, I believe I've learned enough that I've got a plan that I can't officially announce yet, but basically WUB tours in every city across Canada is what the goal is for 2020. Plus we got other retreats coming up and you name it. And it's been a funny, like most people don't know this, but my family business in life has kind of come full circle with that too, where we've been doing fundraising events for 30 plus years and, thousands of events every year. And so now I've adopted that, merging that with this, it's and sometimes things are right there in front of you, but you can't see it because you're too close to it. So I've been really close to a lot of really good things. So I'm really grateful for, what has been a really, really challenging year, but a really good year for learning. So I'm looking forward to 2020.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Well, we're all behind you.
Appreciate that.
And
behind you guys too.
Awesome. Trevor, do you want to go next? Trevor and Mira?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. I do have to go to an appointment, probably leave at 1:30. So perfect timing. Yeah. Myself.
Tell us what you do. I think a lot of people have no idea.
Okay. Well, that's well, I facilitate with Mira, facilitate a retreat called the Enlightenment Intensive, which you have participated on one this year, David.
Reluctantly, yes.
Yeah, reluctantly, yeah.
But
and
huge results.
Yeah, and the whole it's the question, who am I, is and the truth. If there's a word that describes the Enlightenment Intensive, it would be truth, which is not so easy to find, even though it's all that there actually is. It's so. That's I won't say too much about the Enlightenment Intensive. We do a lot of dyad work and we do a lot of self-inquiry into that question, who am I? And expressing the truth that arises to your partner in the dyad. But as far as lessons for myself in this year, what's been big lately for me is, well, it's always big for me, the polarities, the paradox, as you know, David. But I noticed actually was on a men's team event. It was a team overnighter that I happen to be leading. And I discovered this part of like the shadow side of us. And this was also the legacy discovery, another men's team event, big on the shadow side. The lesson essentially is just self-compassion, to be really gentle with ourselves, this constant striving for change and growth, and it all implies that we're not good enough as we are, but the thing is, the paradox can be flipped forever, because in a sense we could be. I certainly could be much better, doing better than I am. And the point, I think, is that what I noticed on this men's team overnighter is that I saw these men's, the whole and sometimes their worst aspects of ego, the things that annoy you the most, but the things that they struggle with the most, are actually what's driving their purpose. I discovered that, like, so for instance, if a man has a really particular desire and need to be needed, he needs to be valued and recognition and all this, then I look at the man's purpose, and it was like he was an incredible caregiver. He was amazing at helping people out and making sure they were comfortable and safe and felt loved. And so there was this shadow side that's driving the good force, that maybe the best, greatest force that we have to bring to the world. And it's the same in me, and as far as I could tell, in everyone, that there's these pieces of our ego that we are so hard on ourselves about. But the thing isn't to get rid of that. And, that's a problem. I need to get rid of that thing. It's more to integrate it and discover how to work with it. So for me personally, like I get angry. I get really upset when I see things, not all the time, but I have a tendency to notice myself getting angry when something to me is not fair. When somebody is being treated unfairly, I have this strong desire to bring justice, and that's a good thing, but it's not a good thing when I do it in a way that I'm making somebody wrong because they've done something that I see as being unfair. But the point being that I shouldn't try to get rid of this anger, but rather to use it as a fuel to come into the present moment, to experience what I'm feeling and why am I feeling it. And if I really allow that, then actually I'll get deeper into the nuance of what's actually taking place and have something of deeper value to share, rather than just saying, you're doing this wrong because you're being mean to this person or whatever. I can see the deeper sort of details of what's happening and, say something if there is something that comes that's actually helpful rather than harmful. But the whole point being that our shadow sides are not our enemies. They are our friends trying to teach us something about ourselves and why we're here. That's what I learned in 2019. And what we have coming up, you want to talk, well, maybe, but do you want to talk about your music too, though? You got to have well, we've got a Gnostic Intensive coming up on February 8th. So it's a one-day event. I'm expanding my boundaries. I'm so attached to this 3-day, this residential retreat. We go off in the wilderness and do the Enlightenment Intensive. But it's a big commitment for a lot of people. So I'm stretching my boundaries out and do a one-day event that's very similar, same type of work. And that's February 8th. And then there's my first 7-day Enlightenment Intensive, March 26th to April 3rd, which is Mira's birthday.
That scares me. That one scares the heck out of me. Yeah.
So that's what's coming up for us. And Mira's got sorts of musical things happening too.
Go ahead, Mira's voice. You're healing with song, and what you do is amazing. And I know that you just love to sing and to share your voice and your love with so many. What was your biggest lesson? That I'm sure will be different than Trevor's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really had the lesson, to truncate it, I had the lesson of the body in a very profound way in many, many angles. And I grew up, I was that girl with the hairbrush in the mirror when I was little, singing and watching the media and learning what life was from watching Hollywood. And so I learned a lot of things that aren't very helpful to a girl. And so I've been riding that wave my whole life, trying to do that well. How do I do that well? Look a certain way and be a certain way that would be acceptable. And this year was a real, even through injuries, even through shifting and aging and changing, I was still really focused on that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what they told me. That's what's working. That's what's popular out in the world. And this year, I had a sort of string of people that were mentors of mine die. And then I had discovered illness. I got really, really sick and had to advocate very much for myself. And that's the mothering aspect was, because I've never had a child of my own. And so there was this touching on the good mother of myself. And then I tumbled into accidentally these group of healing women. The masculine has been very profounding in the entertainment industry, and even in enlightenment work, there's a lot of consciousness work has a lot of masculine principles. And I fell into the arms of these really magical women, the ones that are here and more, and noticed the beauty of existence in a way, the natural flow of me-ness of this one, and allowing the voice to be what it is when it is, and say what it is without editing to, I don't want to be unkind, but not editing to the point of suffocating my voice. And I turned into, from being a big bands and shows and wigs and the costumes, which I still love, but really bringing it down to doing performances and risking the vulnerable aspects of me playing just me and piano, or just me and uke, or just me and voice, and opening my heart even more so to the elements in front of me, and being so rewarded with this. Speaking of lovingness
That, eh?
of the feminine.
Hello.
Hello. Look,
Hi.
Alice is joining us.
Thanks for having me today.
We can't see you yet.
I know it's because it is 10 p.m. in Israel and I'm just leaving a workshop and we're in the car.
Well, hang in and listen for a bit. Mira is just talking and sharing with us. Trevor and Mira are on right now, and Mira's just telling us, she was just talking about you.
Wonderful. Thanks
In
for
a
having me.
sense, I was speaking about my lesson of 2019 and how I fell into the arms of these beautiful feminine facilitators, and then subsequently beautiful feminine gatherings, and how that has shifted my relationship with my own body and my own work and my own mastery. I did my master's training for the Enlightenment Intensive this year as well, and I thought I was going to get quite focused and disciplined and logical and all of these things that I thought was going to happen with this training. And what happened was I became even more open-hearted and learning to love this woman, how she shows up in an open-hearted, present way. May look tearful, may look weak, but in fact, that is a strength that I'm learning that I have. And moving forward into 2020, my intention is to be more with my body, and find all the places that I hide from my own physical temple, and the ways that I need to mother myself and bring that feminine more fully into myself, and then out into the world.
What have you got coming up for next year? What can we hope to see?
Yeah, I thought about that when this was coming up. I have a few performances. I have a few jazz performances that are coming up that are much more of a practice element for me. It's not fully my own show, but I'm going to be supporting other facilitators as a matter of my own learning. So I'm supporting Alice with the Wild Women. I'm supporting a woman, Jai Prabha, in Connecticut with her Enlightenment Intensives, supporting Trevor. I'll be supporting Ravenna Sky and some of her work. And so I feel like it's really about me letting go of some control. I would like to be recording this year, and that feels very daunting. The fact that it wasn't the first thing I said, I'm making an album, is an element of my resistance and fear. So there's some work to be done about surrendering to recording my newest body of work, which is very, very vulnerable to me. But that's the 2020 wish.
Wow.
But she did finish a 5-song demo of her own work. That's wonderful, and does line up an opportunity for an album. It's a good little start. Let's see.
Nice. You guys are honestly, you're beautiful.
Thank you. We took a shower and did our hair.
We did brush our teeth for you, David, but well, I mean, just as you'll put our website. We didn't talk about the Enlightenment Intensive that much because it's difficult to speak to in this kind of element. it takes time, but our website does have a lot of information, and there's a bunch of videos of Trevor speaking about the intensive, because it's really the depth of our calling to support people in through those really deep dives into the self, where all the murky goopy stuff can get stuck, and then we just kind of power through to the joyful light and
Honestly, I can,
support. So we do that together as a team, and so that's really beautiful for us and our relationship and what it brings up.
yes, I watched you guys as a team. I'd like to say something about the Enlightenment Intensive, just because as a participant this year, it was huge. It was, it was so big in my year to go there and spend those 3 days with you. And Trevor knows that I've resisted for 25 years the Enlightenment Intensive. I said no way, because I had done a little bit of it years ago and thought, wow, this is tough. And it was hard on my physical body. Like I rejected it in every way. And
Ego doesn't want you to wake up.
No, I
Doesn't
know.
want you spreading love and joy and getting rid of your shit. No.
I know. And my son actually told me that I had to go do this. My 26-year-old son said, look, this is what's next for you, because it was the thing I've been avoiding for so many years. And so thank you. What you do and the patience in those 3 days that you have with each of the participants, and as you watch them kind of blossom out of the, from the mud comes the lotus, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful experience. I recommend it so highly, and hope to really get behind you and support you in filling those.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it really is. I began my spiritual journey 17 years ago with the Enlightenment Intensive, and I've done many things since. But this is the first thing I stumbled upon, is the thing I'm still with, and it's an awakening retreat, and it is beautiful, of a kind that can only be experienced to really understand and to know.
Oh yeah, you can't really tell anybody about it, but I can say
You
that.
can't describe it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, and I'll continue to talk about it, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on this call. Wasn't this fun?
Yeah.
Have us all here, and Alice, can you see us?
Yes, I can see you all. And I was going to say hello to all my friends. I love everybody on this call.
It's beautiful, isn't it? I guess we had invited Kylie Dawn on the call, and she was in a class, and she says she can't find a quiet spot, and so I don't think she's going to make it. But I'm sure glad that so you're in Israel. You just finished a group, right, Alice?
Yes, I'm here with Amir. Amir is driving right now.
Hi, Amir.
And they say hi. I'm on a headset.
Okay.
And yeah, we just finished. We were just students in a workshop, which is always such a pleasure.
Wow.
And it was on a very juicy topic. It's the dark feminine and the dark masculine in Eros. So it was a powerful 3 days.
I suspect you'll bring that all back to Calgary, and we'll have, we'll all get a piece of that this next year.
Yeah, for sure. Is this the invitation to speak, or
yes? Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure where. Sorry, I don't know where you guys are in your conversation.
Well, we've got Linda hasn't spoken yet, and Julian hasn't spoken, but will there be a time when you'll be on camera?
We can be on camera in we just need to pull over. So, but I can start if you want, and then we can find a place that's lit and
so everybody's been talking about their year, the 2019 and a bit of, what we've all shared so far, or some of us have, about our biggest lessons, some of the challenges, and some of the gifts from 2019. And
sure. Well, yeah, I mean, this workshop that we just took is really in line with the theme that emerged for me in this last year of 2019. Not so much intentionally, but in a really rich and deep way. I know you asked us to share about, one of the most pivotal things that happened for us this last year. And for me, it was the passing of my grandmother. Hang on, we're just parked. Sorry, just bear with me for 10 seconds. Okay, let's see if I can get ourselves on camera right now. There we go. Hello.
Hey, look at you guys. You're
Hi there.
beautiful.
Yeah, we can't hear you guys. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Oh,
You got the-
okay.
there's
Sorry
your
about the
buckeye.
fumbling around you guys.
No, it's beautiful.
8. See us live in the chaos. There we go. I don't know why it's
Can you hear us?
kind of.
No. Try now.
All right. So you guys can hear us and see us?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
there you go.
Yeah, so the passing of my grandmother was huge for me, still continues to be. And for those of you who don't know, my grandmother was the closest, nearest, dearest person to me in my life, the most biggest and uncomplicated love I've ever experienced. And so she passed away about almost 2.5 months ago, and I sat beside her for 2.5 months bedside at home and in hospice and a mirror for much of that time as well. And it was a profound experience. I mean, that sounds so trite, but deeply shifting for me, still continues to be, to sit with somebody that I love so dearly as she let go of life. And through that process, I went through my own deep process, still going through it, where I spent 11 days in solitude after that in a little cabin on my own, and just wrote and cried and let myself really feel the depths of pain, of loss and grief and sadness that took me right to my core. That has hit a place inside me that really doesn't want to be here, like doesn't want this life, doesn't see the point, doesn't just tired. Like I want to go with her. I want to go with my mama, so so I've been sitting in the dark a lot, and 3 weeks of this year has also been spent with one of my mentors, Kamala Lira, who's the creator of Women Who See in the Dark retreat. It's a retreat for women where we explore our own inner masculine and then also the dark aspects of our shadow pieces that often get hidden and suppressed. We sit in the dark, meditating with our eyes open, and the weeks are filled with bringing light to the shadow. So this year, 2019, has been a lot about that for me, just like shadow hunting and spending time in deep mystery, deep unknown, and more dark, emotions that we would typically label as dark. And I think the biggest teaching in all of this is, when I let myself fully surrender to the darkness instead of resisting it, or instead of searching for the pieces of light, which many of the spiritual teachings in the world say that we should do, to be grateful, to just know that it's all love, all these things that we've heard a million times, and to just say, fuck that. Like, I'm going to sit in the dark right now. There's something here for me. And for me, I've stopped resisting and just let myself be fully consumed by it. It's like saying the darkness, just take me. Like, I give up, and give it up.
Wow.
Yeah, and this weekend too has been that process. So I'm journeying in there, and when I go right into it, what I realize is or what I felt is actually this deep amount of pleasure, dare I say it, this deep pleasure of really feeling, of really being human. There's an aliveness in that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. May I
And
say
this
that
been here throughout all of it. So thanks to my beloved too.
Alice, this year, I mean, from I think from all of us, our perspective is you brought so much light to so many people. You know, like it's been a big year for your what you've done to serve our community, and while you've been in the middle of this, especially this fall, you know, and shared with us, you know, your experience as you went through it. I love that you share so openly what's happening right now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. I feel like I'm dealing with what I call the inner critic, which seems like on the top of what you're talking about. Like you've gone way past the inner critic into you know, the depths of the darkness. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, I think something shifted for me in recent years. I've taught long enough that I've been through many big waves in life, you know, while having to be in front of groups of people. And I just at some point, I think this is what helped me through it. I just stopped, what's the word, like compartmentalizing my life.
Nice.
You know, to say like when I'm in front of people, this is how I need to show up, and I'm bringing light to the community, or I'm bringing like I'm not bringing anything. I'm just bringing me, and this is what you get. Yeah, it's my greatest strength and my greatest challenge sometimes. That yeah. So thank you for sharing your perspective on that, David. And I hope and I know that I've made a difference in some people's lives. It really it's. I mean, what I teach is to be real with what is. So this has been what's real this year.
Wow. Amir, any thoughts?
On what?
Oh, just, you know, your year and you know, anything that you want to share about this last year, or how it's been for you, what the good, bad, and the ugly.
Well, it's been a personally a year of lots of changes and you know, big ups, big downs, you know, questioning of the old versus the new. You know, what is the old, what is the new, how that look like, how to continue in certain things. You know, be it on a personal level, you know, in Alice's and I's relationship, or also, you know, in what I bring to this world. So it's been a very intense year, and I don't think in the beginning of the year we could have known where would be at the end. Yeah, I think that's generally the feeling. I mean, I had, you know, on business wise, I had a project that was going on in Bali, which I really was very excited for in the beginning, well, about the middle of the year, and I invested some, you know, some time and resources into that, and that ended up not going anywhere. And I feel today that that's the right place where it needs to be. But if you'd asked me mid of May, I would have told you I would be now in Bali, and I'm not. I'm in Israel. So, you know, lots of unknowns and a lot of personal growth. You know, relationship growth, personal growth. So yeah, that's basically where I'm at.
Wow, thank you. Alice, I don't know if you're in the space to do this, but what's coming up in 2020? Do you want to share a little bit of?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. There's a few things that are coming up that are new, and yeah, always birth from my own personal learnings and curiosities. So I'm actually I just created a course the other day. Big wave of creation came through, which is deepening into Tantra on philosophy. So I feel like there's a lot of really amazing work in Tantra being happening in Calgary with some incredible facilitation. And one of the pieces that has been missing for me personally, and a big passion, is the philosophical roots and underpinnings of where these amazing practices come from, beyond connecting with others, beyond dyads, beyond, you know, all of those yummy, juicy things. But there's a lot of richness in this ancient lineage. So I'm offering my first online course, which is a 4-week Mondays live online. They'll be recorded. So that's coming up. Untamed Wild Feminine will be running in its 7th time, I think, in the last year and a quarter. So that's a deep dive journey for women of reclamation of body wisdom, of emotional wisdom, of sexuality, sensuality, and full life force when we let go of all of our labels and constructs and shoulds of who we think we are. What else is coming up, babe? I've got Yoni Temple for women, of course, Intro to Tantra, Valentine's Day edition. And then there's a few other juicy things. Oh yeah, Wild Women Gatherings coming up. And Women Who See in the Dark, actually, that I mentioned before. Kamala Lira, my mentor, is going to come, which is amazing. She's got a crazy packed worldwide schedule. So we booked her in, Mira and I booked her in for October 1st to 7th. Retreat for women happening, location to be announced very soon, driving distance of Calgary. And that's 17th. A huge
17th to 23rd.
Oh yeah, 17th to 23rd. Sorry, the dates changed. Thanks, Mira. So yeah, that's a really amazing, incredible opportunity for our area of the world. And something being birthed in the dark that's going to be offered to men and women about deep diving into the shadow pieces, bringing consciousness to what's been unconscious, and really playful, fun. I believe shadow work should be a whole lot of fun and creative as well. So that is to come.
Wow. But that last one that you shared, I hope to be part of that.
We'll let you know.
Yes.
And then when Amira's in town, we'll offer something together as well.
Yeah, we've been talking about the Rebirth Emotathon for some time. So probably that will happen sometime in June.
Nice.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, it's part of the Untamed series, but there is one night where we invite men to be with the women. And of course, you've been there, David, and always appreciate your presence there.
Thank you.
And yeah, a very powerful night of healing the divide, as one of our friends, Hazel Grace, calls it, between men and women, the way that we relate.
Yeah, we need lots of that. Well, thank you so much for coming on after your workshop, and where are you two? Are you staying in Israel for a few more days? You're off to Europe, or where are you going from here?
Yeah, we're staying in Israel another 2 nights, and then we'll be in Zurich for a couple of weeks, and then Alice will be back in Calgary mid of January.
Yeah.
I don't. Alice, you're not going to Bali this winter?
No plans to, but who knows? I've got a few empty months for mystery, so we'll see.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining us. And
yeah.
Are you going to stay with us for a while? Linda's going to tell us what's coming up in her world and how her year was. Love for you to stay.
Yeah, we would love to hear, and we'll just take our video off so we can continue our drive. We've got a little bit of distance, but we'll stay on. Yeah. But much love to you all of our friends on this call, and to you too, David.
Yeah, thanks, David. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, love.
Yeah. Bye. Well, we're here, but we'll go on mute.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow, that's exciting. Linda, do you want to share next?
Sure, I'd love to. Bye, Alice. Bye, Amir. It's so nice to see you guys. We've been keeping in touch all the way from Israel, but thanks to technology, isn't it great that we can connect like this, all of us?
Oh, no kidding. Yep.
Yeah, really wonderful. So 2019, for me, I set the intention actually at the beginning of the year. My word that I pulled from the character strength cards in the Love Smart cards was acceptance. And my tantric connection was surrender and acceptance, and how they go together, and they're two of the 7 keys of tantra. And that's what I was focusing on. And it was because in 2018, I experienced 3 significant losses. And so I was really spending the entire year in grief and metabolizing those losses. And what came up for me was the need for self-compassion, compassion, period, but definitely self-compassion. So tying into what Trevor was sharing, and then really deeply listening to myself and to others, like Amy was sharing, and Paul as well. So it's really interesting to me the way we're all interconnected too, with Alice, with her grief too, and all of us in our process. So that was a big theme for 2019, to acknowledge that that our society doesn't really do a really great job of supporting people in grief, and that there's a lot of discomfort around other people feeling uncomfortable, and how much we adjust ourselves, or how we try to adjust the other person, influence and such, when we see someone we care about in feeling discomfort or expressing emotion, uncomfortable emotions. So my process was to just keep doing the work. Like Alice has often said, when I've been with her in circle, you know, I do this for me, and I do it for others. And so I kept showing up with my private clients, and in the Love Smart Card workshops, and in Tantra, to weave in the pleasure as well. And that's been really healing and important. And I cannot believe all that has been accomplished in 2019, with traveling and offering workshops in Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, California, and all of the private clients I've worked with. And I think that my complete brokenness and openness, my heart being just wide open, really allowed me to really hear people's pain in a different way than had been accessible to me in the past. And I'm really grateful for that. And I just understand loss differently than I did before, from such a personal, deep perspective. And I had to raise my self-compassion to survive, frankly, because I too experienced questioning, what's the point of it all, and what am I here for, and what am I doing, and why? Yeah. Some of the most beautiful moments that I celebrate over the last year has been all the work with women, and as Mira mentioned, and how healing and supportive that's been for me, and wanting to do more of it, and just really dropping into what acceptance and surrender to whatever is here and whatever is now, and probably moving away from the corporate kind of world that I came from, where it was very much about putting on a fake it till you make it facade, you know, pony up and present yourself in a certain kind of way that that always sat a little uncomfortably with me, because it didn't really feel authentic. And I'm really honored when people say to me that they give me the feedback and they use the word authentic or authenticity. It's the highest compliment I feel I can be paid. It's all I desire. So that's me. That's real. My magical moments this year have been sitting with couples. Over a year and a half ago, I was trained as a Gottman couples therapist, and that has allowed me to move more into working with couples than I had before as a coach. And most of my clients this past year have been couples. And I experience this moment with them, with all of them, where there's what I call a softening that happens. And it's not unlike the softening that I experienced needing to do with myself over 2019 in my self-compassion journey. And it's the moment where we drop the enemy image of the other person and we see that we're more alike than we are different. And how we have a lot of the same feelings and we share a lot of the same needs, values, longings, and desires. And it is such a powerful shift in the energy in the space and between the individuals. It's absolutely palpable, and everything changes after that happens. And I've just been so privileged to witness that over and over and over, and to create and set up and support an environment where that can happen. And I really believe marriages are being saved, families are being helped, and it's just, yeah, I don't know words. I don't have words to describe what that feels like to be part of that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
You're a love worker. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
So in 2020, more of that, more of that, please. And exciting things happening. I'll continue with Love Smart Card nonviolent communication classes with Fly on the Wall, which is a chance for men and women to sit in circle with each other and to really listen and hear each other talk about things they want to hear the other sex talk about. And of course, the tantric intimate connecting experiences, guided journeys for people to practice the skills of conscious communication and how to ask for what we need and support each other in getting our needs met, being able to really drop in and deeply connect in a super intimate way. And really excited. Alice didn't say anything about it. I feel called because it's something I'm super excited about, but we're talking about some juicy collaborations that we will bring forward in 2020. And we've had some experiences of dabbling with that in 2019, and we're both excited. I think I can speak for her as well from our hours and hours and hours of conversation about it, that we're excited to move forward and do more with that in 2020 as well.
We look forward to that.
It's just really, really fun for us. So, yeah.
Right on. And whatever you're doing, you two, I think you should have some men involved as well. There's three of us here that all want to be part of it.
Well, all of my events have men involved. So
good. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for putting this together, David. It's really beautiful to collect people to share from their experiences of the year, reflections, and to celebrate. You know, a concept in nonviolent communication is mornings and celebrations, and so it feels to me a little bit like that's what we're up to here. And it was in my intention to consider making a video about this, and I actually really strongly dislike being on camera, and I don't enjoy being in front of people in this way and having it be recorded for all time. And so the nudge from you to organize the group and to be part of this with my friends and colleagues and just people I admire and respect in the community who are doing such great work was the nudge that I needed to get on here and do it. So thank you.
Well, thank you for trusting and for coming and being part of this. And there's so many great people doing great work in Calgary that we could have had, a lot more, and
Yes.
somewhere we kind of had to draw the line, but it was just, it's thank you for trusting and joining us today. It's not easy for everybody to be in front of the camera, but your presence is amazing. You're beautiful in front of the camera. Yeah. So, thank you. Just we all have the inner critic, that says,
Oh,
yeah, how do I look? That really me? Yeah. So thanks for doing that. Julian, buddy, you've got so much going on, don't you?
Yeah, well, this call is kind of, it's just, I just want to start by saying I'm humbled and honored to be part of this call. When you asked me to join and you kind of listed off the roster, I was kind of like, you want me to be part of this? You sure you're talking to the right guy?
Absolutely.
So, so thanks for having me. And yeah, we got lots going on personally, professionally, in my family. And I think that's kind of, that leads me into my lesson of 2019 and probably my lifelong lesson. I think this is my lesson that I'm going to have to continue to work on, just based on my personality type and the life that I've picked for myself and I continue to choose for myself, which is abundance in a way where I have lots of things to do. And I need to really learn to own my no, and in all places. So work. I've got 3 different types of jobs that I'm doing. One of them of which is circles of rhythm. So for anyone who doesn't know, I do community drum circles, and that's why I'm on this call. But I also am a mental health professional in the community, and I support people living with mental health concerns. But I think, there's intersections in between all of the work that I do. And I've got 3 kids and whatever else. So, but 2019 certainly was a place where I had some lessons about balance, and that's going to be my lifelong lesson, I think. To the point where this summer I was kind of putting off all of my self-care and just focusing. I get a lot out of the work that I do, and I think that's part of my self-care, but I think at the same time, David, we talked about this before, is we just need to stop and just check in. And I think everybody in the call today, kind of mentioned a brief story about checking in and stopping and listening to that inner spirit that kind of tells you, whoa, that's enough. And sometimes if you don't, which I didn't, life will make you stop. And yeah. And so to the point where, I had a summer where there was a moment, and it doesn't take long. It can be just 15 minutes or an hour where you're just clearly not yourself, and something is pushing you to your limits. And it's kind of scary to see and to be a witness of this kind of experience, right? And especially looking back and trying to have that third person perspective of, wow, this is not who I want to be. This is not who I am. This is not what I stand for. And I need to make a change. And so lots of lessons for me in that respect. And I think balance is the biggest one, and incorporating quiet in my life, incorporating playfulness for me, not for everyone else, but playfulness for me, and so that's kind of a teaser for what's coming in the new year. But yeah, so lots of lessons, one of them of which requires surrender. And again, a common theme, I'm kind of repeating what everybody's already said, but just surrendering what's out of my control and just accepting that, and just refocusing, shifting my focus on, what's in my power. And really all that's in my power is how I respond, how I take care of myself, preventative measures, but how I respond in the moment, and just sharing kindness and choosing kindness over you know, leaning into kind of that negative ego and allowing self-judgment and self-doubt and insecurities kind of lead the show. So that was 2019 for me in a nutshell. And I think I've had a lot of amazing opportunities too, with sitting with you, David, on Bali and Beyond, and working with Paul and Alice and Trevor Yellick, who's not on this call, and Kylie Dawn, who was supposed to be on this call and is not here. I've had a lot of opportunities to evolve, and it's kind of a neat way how it works, that I get to be in a position where I can do my own personal work while helping others do theirs. And I feel so grateful for that. And, you know, Alice's story today and yours, Linda's, just the vulnerability that you guys shared about, you know, the loss or the personal work of, you know, doing your personal work, and how it can again, that intersection, weave it into your own work and the work that you can share with others. I think it, you know, when David, you sent the message for this call about sharing your vulnerability with our communities so that we can hopefully, you know, inspire our communities to lean in, because there is a darkness, there is, and it's good to feel that shit, feel the crap. I am a strong believer of that. You know, sometimes life sucks, and sometimes you're dealt a shit hand, and pardon my language, but you have to feel that in order to be able to move through whatever's going on. And I think the difference is that you can have a community that surrounds you and helps you through whatever those moments are. And I think that's where I'm lucky, and I think all of us on this call are pretty lucky to have a community that surrounds us and believes in us and wants us to live our true authentic selves and an authentic life and share our gifts with others. So yeah.
Wow. You're very well spoken, my friend.
It's to a detriment. I can speak really well about other things, but about myself,
You just did a very nice job. Thank you. What's coming up in 2020?
Man, so as you know, and some might not know, but Circles of Rhythm holds a regular Friday night drum circle. So, you know, it's a lot of fun. So every Friday, 50 weeks out of 52, we do a regular community drum circle in Calgary from 7 to 9 in Inglewood. So lots of really cool Easter eggs that we throw into that. For example, next Friday is an intention setting one, but I think somebody else on this call, Amy, had an event on the 3rd. So go to hers. You can come to mine as well. But an intention setting event on the 3rd, and then an Easter egg that we have on the 10th, we've got Midnight Taiko. I don't know if you know of this group. It's a bunch of taiko enthusiasts. So taiko drumming is that Japanese drumming. It's like martial arts and drumming together. Really cool, off the hook. So they're coming and they said, hey, can we join you? They do lots of their own events, but we said we open it up for other people to share their gifts. And maybe that's a plug for people out there. And I've already had some conversations for people to come and join and share, because we have an audience, share their gifts, their musical gifts for, 5, 10, 15 minutes, however long it is on the Friday nights, to just, because there's a lot of people have talents, and so I want to continue to share that and allow people to express themselves and also to experience different expressions. And a good example of that was when we collaborated on December 13th with Kylie Dawn, and we did Ecstatic Dance, which was a stretch for some, and for others it was amazing. It
was beautiful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I saw of it was great.
Yeah. So that's what we do regularly, but specifically we're collaborating a lot with Paul, who's on this call. Love the guy. So we have our May 1 to 4, I think, for the Gabriola Island Wub Gathering out there. So if you haven't signed up or if you haven't heard about that, you should check it out. So we do lots of collaborations with people, and probably Circles of Rhythm specifically is going to work on just focusing on doing more of what we love and less of what we need to do to survive. Because I think if you focus on doing what channels love and excitement for yourself, I think the abundance will come, you know? And so things like events, so talking about Inshallah, we've done Sangha, we'll probably hopefully do it again with Ray, you know, Wub gatherings, lots of festivals, little gatherings like that. And specifically there's a new guy in town who's kind of on this you know, consciousness train. His name is Ken Patel, and he's putting together a trauma healing workshop. So look for it. It's going to be in March, on March 27th to the 29th. And it's similar to what the Wub Gathering does, but I think more focused on the trauma specifically. So he'll be incorporating drumming. Kylie Dawn's going to be doing some movement work, and then also the breath work with Prima. I've never worked with her before, but we've had lots of calls, and so some interesting stuff going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big year. You know, the theme that I hear is that everybody that's been on this call is committed to helping people awaken. You know, that I love, you called it the consciousness train. You know, and for many years in the what I'll call the spiritual work, I imagined that consciousness somehow was outside of me. No. And you know, and to help people to see that who they are inside, what's happening, and you know, whether it's the shadow side. You know, I recently decided to, you know, use the term inner critic, and I actually gave him a name, and I'm making friends with him, and you know, because he's there. He's actually the first guy at every event. and so, you know, and I think that all of us are in the service to others to help them see themselves, and once we become aware, once we become conscious, we it's just a short jump to freedom. And because I like to think of myself as a jailbreaker. You know, we're helping people break out of the jails of their conditioned beliefs and their unconscious behaviors, you know, and so I'm grateful to be in the company of people who are you know, digging deep into their own behaviors and their own beliefs, and to help others do the same, and that's you guys. It's beautiful.
That's what it's all about. I think, you know, I don't know, you know, Judy Atkinson
Yes.
really well. And so that was the biggest lesson that she gave as she passed on Circles of Rhythm to me. She said, Julian, don't try to talk about something you don't know of. Just talk about what's real to you. Whatever's going on for you, speak authentically without doing a group therapy session about yourself, but just speak authentically about what's going on for you. And then that's what people catch on to. That's what people identify with, and that's what helps people grow. So there's a certain level of vulnerability that is required in order for us to really help others evolve.
Well, we're all from the conversation today, we're all feelers. We're committed to feeling, you know, and being in what's happening right now, and bringing consciousness to it without judgment, and you know, and without judgment on others, and without judgment on ourselves, and bringing love, and you know, I think we all spoke of love, and that's the key. Is we bring love to each moment and each behavior and each belief, and it melts, you know, and we're lifted up. So it's a beautiful thing that we're doing in this community. I think that, you know, there's a lot of us at it, and I'm pleased to be part of that. If I could just share briefly that, you know, what was my big lesson in 2019 was surrender. Was surrender. It was like, get out of the driver's seat, David, you know, and it's so, in a way, difficult because our conditioning is, I must make plans and I must have big goals and I must, achieve and I must have experiences and just, to let go of that, to just let go of that and recognize that I'm not the boss of me. I'm not the boss of me, and that happened for me really at the Enlightenment Intensive, where I woke up to really the fact that I'm just not who I thought I was. I'm so much more. and that's the gift we give folks, is that our limited beliefs keep us and from being here, from being present, and not from achieving, but from really being here in love. So surrender has helped me in a big way, and to be present and to just listen. Every morning I say to my higher power, or infinite intelligence, or universal intelligence, or whatever you want to call them, God, put me in, coach. And I listen. And that was the message, I think, from everybody, was that we've become good listeners, and then move forward with our gifts. So thank you guys for for this today, and sharing your love with us. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's just great. And just one more thing that I've resisted for years sharing. I'm almost 40 years in what I'll call the spiritual seeking crowd, and I've resisted for years in really taking it out into community, and I'm also doing meditation groups on Monday nights, and I've rented space into infinity at the Scarborough United Church. So there's a beautiful room on the main floor, and Monday nights at 7:00 we have, it's really a deep dive into consciousness and helping folks to see what's happening inside so that they can become free, and then using meditation to quiet and see what's happening. So I call it a meditation class, but it's kind of more than that. And it's about an hour and a half on Monday nights. So that's my go-to. And we're going to do a one-day thing with that group. It's grown. The group has grown. There's a lot of regulars that come now, and I'm really enjoying it. So we're going to do a one-day in March. But I recognize how, in a way, for all of us, as we step out with our gifts, it feels risky, and it feels scary, and it's
So scary.
yes, and so I'm experiencing that as well, and sitting at the front of the room and talking to people, and my inner critic is saying, "What are you doing? Who do you think you are?" Anyway, it's just there, and I say, now I can call him by name, because I just recently gave him one, and say, "It's okay, we're safe," because often the inner critic just wants to protect us, right? And it just wants to look after us, and from a space of feeling the world's unsafe. So yeah, we just let help others to see the world is a safe place. So love you guys, and I thank you so much for trusting and coming and being on this call today, and I'm imagining, as we all share it, that it'll get out to many people out there, and yeah, if you want to do a post on this with your links, that would really work, and then I could also post them in the body of this call. But if you want to just do a post on the Facebook Live on of your links of things coming up and websites and all that stuff, that would be awesome. Then I'll leave them in the feed, but I'll also put them in the body of what we're doing. So thanks so much, and love you guys. I look forward to being part of your journey this next year. Thanks so
Pleasure,
much.
David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you
Thanks,
for
everybody.
organizing this, and
Thank
nice
you.
to see and kind of meet some of you.
Thanks, you guys. Love you lots.
Yeah.
Bye.
Guys.